All right. Good afternoon, everybody. As he mentioned, my name is Angela, and hopefully you guys are all in the right talk, which is going to be gaining experiences through CTFs. But even if you're like, oh crap, I'm in the wrong talk, stay because you might learn something new. So it's going to be a good talk, and let's just go ahead and get started. So a little bit about the agenda. We're going to go over kind of like the 5 W's, the who, what, when, where, and why of CTFs, what you can do for your next steps, and I'll leave some time for question and answers. If you guys do have a question at any time, by all means, raise your hand, and I will answer any questions. Yes. All right, so what is a CTF? How many of you in this room have ever participated or currently is participating in a CTF? Oh, wow. Oh, that gives me chills, guys. That's awesome. A CTF is really a generic term to just really describe a cybersecurity competition. It is a gamified version of, it also is like a gamification of learning, but it also is supposed to be a lot of fun. And the capture the flag events do have some root in like some military history, but I'm not going to dive into some of that. But when you're looking for information during a CTF, you're going to be looking for flags. And sometimes the flags are hashes, sometimes the flags are files, sometimes the flags are access gained to a system, or a variety of different kinds of answers. And the purpose of the flags is to demonstrate that you were able to successfully complete the challenge. And so once you get that flag, typically you would put it into some kind of scoring system, and then you get points based upon that, whatever challenge it is. Sometimes it could be a 10-point challenge, sometimes it's a 100-point challenge, and sometimes it may be like a 500-point challenge. And they're all based upon difficulty of varying levels. And so then that's where it kind of becomes competitive in a healthy way. And if you get the most amount of flags for whatever competition, you are usually a winner and are awarded a variety of prizes. Some CTFs, just by winning, you get bragging rights. Some CTFs, you get money. Some CTFs, you get jobs. Some CTFs, you get headaches. Some CTFs, you get a lot of experience. So CTFs are a very safe way of learning cyber if you're brand new, or if you are just looking to transition from, say, IT into cyber, or looking to get into cyber from something completely different. You want to just do something different in your life. Just real quick, this photo was actually taken at my first ever CTF when I was going to the University of Maryland, getting my bachelor's in cybersecurity. And funny thing, the guy that I was sitting next to, I can tell you right now, I will never forget this challenge. This was 2013, that's 11 years ago. I was hacking a WordSite press. What did we just talk about on Thursday? WordPress. I will never forget that challenge because it drove me nuts. But the guy next to me, he was wearing a B-side shirt. I had no idea what that even meant. And so it is kind of funny to me on the inside that life is kind of coming like full circle, because here I am at B-sides talking about a CTF. So you just never know where these things are going to take you. So if you're getting ready to get started in cyber, how many of you are trying to break into cyber? A couple of you? Okay. Well, this is the way I kind of think about it when I talk. How many of you are my students? Okay. So just a side note, I'm so happy that my students came today, because they hear me talk all week, and the fact that they want to spend a Saturday hearing me talk even more, it just brings me tears. So thank you guys for coming out. But if you think about it, we're lucky enough to all live in Florida. Actually, does anybody not live in Florida? Did you guys just come here for the B-sides? Oh, well, welcome to Florida. So maybe, where are you guys from? Georgia? Michigan. So in Michigan, when do you start getting ready for beach season?
It's like from July 4th to July 8th.
Oh, okay. So very short. Okay, yeah. Well, for the rest of us, we are fortunate enough to live in Florida where it's pretty much beach season / bikini season all year round. But you don't start preparing for beach season or bikini season the weekend of Memorial Day to stop eating fast food, maybe go to the gym once, and be disappointed that you can't get into your bikini for the summer. I kind of use that same thought process when it comes to getting into cyber. So maybe some of you, and by the way, this is an AI-generated image. I am not that talented. So if this is you, and that is your goal way beyond up on the top of the mountain, and you want to get into cyber, but you don't see an easy path, one of the ways that you can progress, even if you're new or you're seasoned and you want to even maybe climb a higher mountain, CTFs is a path that can get you there. So just think about how, if you want to get to that top, what are you going to do between now and then? Don't wait until Memorial Day weekend to think about trying to get into bikini season. And really what I'm trying to say is, especially, how many college students are in the room? Do not wait until May, right before graduation, to start thinking about how you're going to get into cyber. These are the kinds of things that you should be thinking about your sophomore year, your junior year, your senior year. But if you're in the middle of a transition from a career, you can always start it if you already have your a goal in mind. So a little bit about CTF history. This is not everything CTF history-wise, but as far as we know, the first CTF as we know it started back in 1996 at DEF CON 4. Was anybody at DEF CON 4? No? Can you believe that was like almost 28 years ago? Kind of crazy. The first CTF at DEF CON was completely, I wasn't there myself. I just graduated high school. I was somewhere in the Army somewhere. Didn't know about DEF CON then. But it was, from what I understand, it was completely unorganized, unstructured, no clear scoring system. It was just kind of like the Wild Wild West. Nobody really knew what was happening. So, but that was kind of like the first known CTF. And then it wasn't for like maybe another 6 or so years did a competition called CCDC. Anybody participate in CCDC? No? Anybody know what CCDC is? Okay, we'll talk about that. That's okay. It's the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. It is a competition mostly, or it is geared towards college students. And it's a competition that colleges across the United States will participate in. And that started back in 2005. Cyber Patriot started in 2009-ish. Anybody in high school participated in Cyber Patriot? Anybody have high schoolers that are thinking about going into cyber? Anybody with kids? If your school has a Cyber Patriot, you may want to look into it. It's a program ran through the Air Force Association, and it is like an after-school club, and they teach the students purely defensive. They don't teach them any offensive cyber stuff. But the idea behind Cyber Patriot is to get high schoolers interested in cyber before their interest takes a turn to the dark side. They were trying to capture the interest of high schoolers that had that natural born curiosity and they want to know more. Cyber Patriot is one of those ways that you can learn how to do defensive cyber without hopefully, ruining any potential jobs in the future by any unauthorized hacking. And then we have another one called the U.S. Cyber Challenge that came about in 2011-ish. Anybody hear of U.S. Cyber Challenge? No. NCL, National Cyber League, also started around that year. Anybody part of NCL? Yeah, of course you guys are. It's required. They're getting graded for this. And then we have something called PICO CTF. Anybody hear PICO CTF? All right, this is a real beginner-friendly one. It was developed out of MIT, and we'll talk about this one being a very, very, very beginner-friendly one. And then most recently, U.S. Cyber Games, which, of course, I'm a part of. How many of you have heard of U.S. Cyber Games? Okay, awesome. I'll be talking a little bit about that. And then what do we have beyond? CTFs are here to stay. They are actually getting, unlike the first CTF where it was disorganized and no real clear vision and stuff like that, they are becoming so streamlined that and specialized, CTFs are really going to be, continue to be a part of the learning process. So how many of you have ever heard the question or the statement, CTFs do not prepare you for real life work? Has anybody ever heard that? Okay. That is a common thought that either CTFs are not practical. I want to address that and try to convince you otherwise. If you've never seen this chart before, I do have a QR code to the website. This is a chart that I use very often, and it is from the NICE framework, and it is a way of categorizing cybersecurity jobs. Because CTFs have become so streamlined that they are actually starting to align them with all of the different categories with the NICE framework. And when I say NICE, I don't mean like naughty or nice. I mean the National Institute for Cybersecurity Education. I could have get the I wrong, but it is actually for cybersecurity education. And so when people say CTFs are not practical, I want to just kind of highlight some of the CTFs that are out there and how they do map to the NICE framework. So the National Cyber League, which is a CTF that is only open to high schoolers and to college students, that CTF is aligned with operate and maintain and protect and defend. So the skills that people are going to be learning while participating in the NCL are in alignment, if we go back to this slide, to the operate and maintain and protect and defend. So it's going to line up to those categories. CCDC also aligns with operate and maintain and protect and defend. CCDC is a college-only level cyber competition. Then we have CyberForce. Has anybody ever heard of CyberForce? CyberForce is something that is coming from the Department of Energy, and they also follow operate and maintain and protect and defend. NSA code breakers. Anybody ever participate in NSA code breakers? That's another challenge. I want to say that one is only open to college students as well and faculty and staff, but this particular CTF is a little bit different because it goes into the investigate and then securely provision. So the challenges are going to be completely different than what you would see in a CCDC or CyberForce. And then the U.S. Cyber Challenge, which happens to be one of the first CTFs that I ever participated in, they also do oversee and govern and then securely provision. And then, and this is not an inclusive list. These are just some of the CTFs that I'm familiar with. I've been a judge in CyberForce. I'm a coach for NCL. I participated in Codebreaker. For some reason, we don't have a CCDC team, but I'm not going to point any fingers. That's okay, next year, right? Next year. And then, of course, US Cyber Challenge was my first CTF. And then US Cyber Games. US Cyber Games is completely different than these other CTF or competitions, where US Cyber Games, they also align with the analyze, collect and operate, investigate, operate and maintain, no oversee and govern, but protect and defend, and then securely provision. So this is why this CTF is at a much different level than some of these other ones. So who participates in CTFs? So I come from the DoD, so I know anytime that I talk to leadership, they always want the 5 Ws. So when I thought about this, I realized that there's actually 2 different who's. There's the people who are organizing the CTFs, and then there's the people who are participating in CTFs. So within the government, do we have any federal employees in the room? Have you guys ever participated in the Presidential Cup? Are you guys aware of the Presidential Cup? The Presidential Cup is a specific CTF open to any federal employee, regardless. Are you 2210s? Are you guys 2210s? So if you are any other field besides like computer science or a 2210 and you want to get into cyber, every year the President's Cup opens up and you can actually compete within that, and it's only open to federal employees. Along with other government agencies, as mentioned, the NSA Codebreakers, that is an annual CTF. DARPA also has a CTF, and CISA is the one who runs the Presidential Cup. Then we have corporations. Here locally, we participate in an annual CTF at Raymond James, and this year we're going to win. Yay? Yeah? All right, come on, guys. Remember all that cheering at the beginning. But Raymond James, we participate here locally with that. Then there's things called like Boss of the SOC, which is also like another takeoff on a CTF. And then we have colleges. And colleges can kind of get a little complicated because you're either an NCIE school or you're not. And some CTFs will depend on which college you go to. So as long as you're going to, say, UT, USF, St. Leo's, I think HCC is also NCIE, and some of the other community colleges, there are more opportunities because of that partnership with the NSA. The NCL, National Cyber League, once again, you either have to be in high school or college to participate in that, and then CCDC. And then for nonprofits, there's actually quite a few nonprofit CTFs that are ran. How many of you have heard of Trace Labs? All right, so Trace Labs is a nonprofit. We'll talk about them in a little bit. OWASP also has a CTF in the form of Juice Shop. You can turn it into a CTF. I wouldn't offer any prize money because all the answers are available online, but it is a fun way of learning. And then some other nonprofits as well. So who can participate? This part kind of got a little, I was trying to figure a good way to segment the different ways that you can participate, but you can be a college student and participate in a ton of CTFs that are only available to you while you're in college. So if you are a college student or you have a college-age student at home that's considering maybe cyber, CTFs can be a really good way for them to get involved. Career transitions. I know for me, I spent most of my life in IT until one thing led to another, and then I finally made the transition into cyber. Or maybe a current professional. Maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're some other field, and you're like, you know what, I'm tired of manual labor. I wanna go and work in cyber. I find it interesting. So anybody can really participate into a CTF. And this is just a screenshot of US Cyber Games. We're going to be kicking that off. That is something that is open to, we have an age restriction, but it's typically in college age up to like 27, I think. But I can talk more about that as well. So what kind of CTFs are even available? So you can participate in a CTF either as a team or as an individual. So that can vary on which kind of CTF you participate in. There's something called Jeopardy style, red versus blue, and then mixed, which is a combination of Jeopardy and red versus blue. So with, how many of you prefer team games for CTFs? Oh, really? I thought it would be more. Maybe you guys don't have good teams. For me, my first CTF, it was a team because I didn't really know what I was doing. I learned a lot from my team members because a CTF can be intimidating, but if you do an individual game, sometimes individual games could be more fun because you can learn at your own pace, and then maybe your classmate or your coworker doesn't have to know that you really don't know things that maybe they thought you would know. So it does expose some insecurities while you're doing CTFs, because you may think you know everything, but then you get behind a challenge and you're like, wow. You start rethinking your career choices and everything, because you're like, how am I even supposed to begin to solve this? So you can decide which ones to participate if you like team games or individual games. Jeopardy style is one of the most common forms of a CTF that you're going to see. These are typically, these are typically standalone questions that are broken up into different categories. And these types of CTFs vary. They can either be a couple of hours, they can be a couple of days, a couple of weeks, or even a couple of months, or even longer. It all just depends on who is hosting that kind of CTF. And then we have what is called red versus blue. I'm going to highlight some of the UT students because recently we were able to participate in, when I say either a CAE school or non-CAE school, CAE schools are the Center of Academic Excellence, which is a designation from the NSA. And it's kind of like a stamp saying that the curriculum meets the NSA standard for higher education. And so if you're a part of a CAE school, you get to participate in something called the NCAE Cyber Games. And this is actually a red versus blue type of CTF mixed with Jeopardy style. So when people say that CTFs aren't practical, the students were not even able to access some of the challenges until they fixed the blue team infrastructure, because the red team purposely took down most of the services and they had to figure out how to get the services up and even in order to even compete in the Jeopardy style CTF. So they had to learn how to get SSH up and running, DNS up and running, pretty much like all of these services, which is more based on the blue team and the defensive practices, and they also had to change the default passwords. So it was really cool because as they were also doing the competition, the red team was actively trying to take down their services. And this particular CTF was a, what was it, like 7 hour long? It was a one-day CTF that took about 7 hours. But at the end, it was great. So what are some CTF categories? So the most common that you're going to see are going to be things like web exploitation, binary exploitation, cryptography, OSINT, password cracking, forensics, and networking. These are the most common. And what I like about the various CTF categories is that you may have never known that you liked forensics until you try CTF. Or you may realize that you never want to go into forensics ever. Because like last semester, one of the feedback that I got for having the students do NCL, they're like, yeah, I don't want to do this. They're like, I just want to do policy. I'm like, that's great. But if you don't understand some of this, you know, to be able to understand policy, you're going to need to see how easy it is to crack passwords. You're going to have to see the side of it to be able to make sure that you understand the policies that you're either writing or supporting. So you never know, and you might discover something about yourself that you didn't know before. So there's really no risk in participating in CTFs, and you can kind of explore the various areas. Because if you're sitting in here and you're wondering what you want to do in cyber, the answer, if somebody asks you, what do you want to do in cybersecurity, the answer should not be, I want to do the cyber. That's really, really vague. So this is a way to kind of think, what do you want to do? Because some people, maybe they really thought they wanted to be in digital forensics, but when they do this, they're like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this. It's better to find out now than to find out 3 years into your job and then the life of you is just sucked out. You dread going to work every day. Figure these things out now before it's less risky. So there's a couple so besides like the typical CTF categories, there are what I call like targeted CTFs, and this is where CTFs I see going in the future. They are becoming more and more specific. So like for example, the MITRE CTF, it is all on embedded systems. And it's a very, very long CTF. I want to say it's either a 1 or a 2 year CTF. It's not one of these ones that we're going to do it in an afternoon and be done. There is a social engineering CTF that is hosted by Temple University. So only college students can participate in it. But this year's theme, did anybody participate in the social engineering CTF? The theme was tax fraud, and you're supposed to try to socially engineer people with taxes, especially come April. Don't forget to do your taxes. We also have these events called Hack the Port, Hack the Hospital, or Hack the Rail. Anybody ever hear of these events? They are so amazing. You got to read about Hack the Hospital. Our good friends over at UCF, they won that CTF. Anybody want to guess what one of the flags was? So typically a hash, a file, whatever. In this CTF, it was a baby. It was a fake baby. It was a fake baby. It was a fake baby. But part of the CTF was, could you take a newborn baby and smuggle it out of the hospital? And anybody who has kids, that's like a parent's worst nightmare, having your baby stolen. The team at UCF was able to disable all of the sensors that are put on newborns. They were able to, every security measure from the NICU to the front door, they were able to disable it and smuggle out the baby. So that is beyond hey, crack this password, or look at this PCAP file. And they also are going to be doing another event in I want to say it's Fort Lauderdale, and they're going to be doing a similar thing where it's hacking the port. And they're going to try to hack all of the port controls. And they did the same thing with Hack the Rail, which was with Amtrak, and they were trying to hack everything related to the railroad. Hack a sack, and not hacky sack. Anybody know? We're people back in the 80s that grew up understanding this stuff. Okay, hacky sack. Hack-a-sat is actually, anybody hear of this event? This was at DEF CON, and they were actually live hacking satellites that were already in orbit. And the winners of that CTF, I want to say, I could be off, but I want to say it was almost like a $10,000 prize. This is something that anybody can participate in. You don't have to be in college. And then the other one is Trace Labs. This one is OSINT, and this one to me is super, super exciting. This is where you use OSINT, which of course is open source intelligence. You use those same techniques that we do in cybersecurity, but instead of using it to map out a network or map out an organization, you actually use those same skills to find real life missing people. And it's really cool because the flags for this competition is pieces of intelligence that you can give to the judge of the CTF, and if the information is really good information, they will actually pass it along to the investigators that are looking into the case in order to hopefully solve that missing person. There is an event. It's going to be on 4/20. And I just got to know, if you join the Trace Lab Discord, they have all the details in there. It is $20 to participate, but they're not making money off of this. It's really to go towards the infrastructure. And they limit it to like 300 people. So if you're interested, the tickets go on sale April 8th. But just join their Discord, and they'll have all that information. But this one is a lot of fun, and we will be participating in this one as well. For the ladies in the room, I just got permission to post this. I don't have the URL yet, but I can get it to you if you need it. For the ladies in the room, for US Cyber Games, so just real quick about US Cyber Games. US Cyber Games started in 2021, and the goal of US Cyber Games is to build a competitive CTF team on an Olympic level. And right now, I'm part of the pipeline program, so I'm helping all the people who didn't make our primary team and helping them prepare for next season's team. And we do that through virtual trainings and sessions and CTFs and all kinds of things to get them ready for the next go-around. Well, as we all know, and if you look to the left or to the right, there's not that many women in cyber. So part of what the US Cyber Games is putting together is an all-women's competitive CTF team, and their first competition will be in Tokyo, Japan in November. So if you know any women who are interested in like the main US Cyber Games, they will be participating in CTFs in Chile, Italy. I want to say they went to Denmark. They travel all over, and the people who we call them cyber athletes, they are college students or just recently graduate college students. And if you are interested, by all means, see me. Anybody going to WeSys next week in Nashville? No? All right. Well, WeSys, Women in Cybersecurity, will also be having a CTF. Since nobody's going to be there, I guess the details won't matter, because I'm trying to find out if you can participate virtually with this CTF or you have to physically be there. But it is being sponsored by the National Cyber League, and I will be up there being a CTF coach for the WeSys convention. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But seriously, anybody who's interested in either one of these, please see me. We have another category of CTF. So we talked about the Jeopardy style, red versus blue, targeted type of CTFs. This one is kind of a new category as well. And the only one that I'm familiar with is it's called Wicked 6. And it's been around for a couple of years. And we just finished the latest season. And it is a 24-hour hackathon, basically, from all over the world. And it's only done once a year for 24 hours. And I got to brag on the US Cyber team. We had players from Spain, Philippines, Malaysia, the United States, all various countries. But our team won the all-women cyber team tournament. And that's me on the right, but honestly, it was the players that did all the work. But it was cool because you would actually be able to stream us hacking and watch our techniques and see how we work through some challenges. So there are so many CTFs, I could not actually put them all on a list. It was actually really difficult. So I tried to break it down to like, okay, if you're in high school, what can you do? If you're in college, what can you do? I talked about most of these. This one is another good one that I recently found out about, but it is the Global Collegiate Pen Test Competition, CPTC. So most cyber CTFs are typically like more blue team and defensive, even if they are Jeopardy style. But this one is specifically a pen test competition for college. And then the Cyber Force, They are kicking off another round of their CTF called Conquer the Hill, and I want to say the registration for that CTF is now open. So then I was thinking, okay, well, if you're not in high school and you're not in college, what are you? Well, you're either a noob or you're a pro. And so if you're a noob, there are a lot of options. Pico CTF is something that is like super easy. You can get started on that today and try it out. Google CTF, that doesn't happen all the time. Pico CTF, you can just log onto their website and start. Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, OS Juice Shop. Sans Holiday Hack is also another good one. DEF CON in their CTF. And then the one from DARPA, I believe this is also another 2-year CTF, but it is an AI CTF, and it looks really, really interesting. It's probably beyond what I had the brain capacity for now, but if you are looking for some like really challenging stuff, definitely look at the AIX CC. So there are seasons of CTFs. As I mentioned, sometimes it's a one-time event, sometimes it's a rolling event. Sometimes it's seasonal, like the Sans Holiday Hack. Every year that it's a holiday theme, and they have a ton of cool challenges. Then this one is more like a programming, but it's called the Advent of Code. And then depending, also some of them are semester-based. So US Cyber Challenge, it happens every single fall, every single spring. NCL also every single spring, every single fall. And then Hack the Box will have a university CTF. Usually like maybe once a year is what I've been seeing. Like once a year they'll have like a university CTF. This is just a screenshot of the Cyberforce competition. So the Conquer the Hill is the one that they're getting ready to start. They kind of focus more on the critical infrastructure. When I was a judge for the last CTF with them, it was actually rather impressive. It was a multi-day kind of CTF that they were focusing on the security of the smart readers for your home for meter reading. And then this is just a screenshot of CTF time. This is another option that you can participate in CTFs, whether you're a college student or a seasoned pro. You can join a team, or you can make a team, or you can be an individual. But this is something that you can just hop on, take a look at what challenges are coming up, and sometimes the qualifiers for other bigger CTFs are being used on CTF time. So if you want to get started, this is something that you can easily get started on today. So why participate in CTFs? Some of you guys may look a little familiar in these pictures. These photos are actually, this is from the Raymond James CTF, and then this is from our first ever CTF that we had at the University of Tampa, and that's a CTF from US Cyber Challenge. It's fun. It is, your creative thinking is activated. You learn by doing. How many of you like to sit there and listen to a lecture or go to a boot camp and all you do is hear the instructor talk? It's really hard to learn that stuff, right? If you're not behind the keyboard. You get to do this in a safe learning environment. As I tell my students all the time, some of these CTF things, if you do them on your own for fun, you can land yourself in jail. So use these things as an educational way to learn. Time management. Yesterday during NCL, students were getting frustrated. I'm like, how long have you been spending on a challenge? Like 30 minutes. That's too long. Set a timer, take a break, know when to come back. And I'm like, and the reason why you have to understand time management, has anybody ever worked in a SOC? Yeah. And how long can you spend on one alert, and then next thing you know, you miss lunch, you miss dinner, crap, it's the next day, and you're just in a zone. You gotta learn time management. And CTFs almost force you to do that. You get exposure to different domains. That should say domains. With the last CTF that we did 2 weeks ago, some people have never messed with DNS. So like for them to get it up and running, there was a lot of learning and a lot of challenges, but it was exposure. And you might not be an expert on it, the first go around, but it also tells you what you know and what you don't know and just how much more you have to learn. Teamwork. I absolutely loved seeing the teamwork through some of these challenges. Some of them were in very deep thought, and they all working together. And they're like, well, did you try this? No, man, I didn't try that. Well, did you try that? No, that didn't work either. Because the same thing, when you're working on a problem in the workplace, sometimes you're going to have to depend upon your teammates, because does anybody in this room know everything? And it's going to be the same thing. So when you're in the SOC or whatever field you go into or whatever role you go into, you got to learn teamwork. You got to know how to be able, not even be able to work with a team, but also be able to communicate to that team and say, look, I'm trying to solve this challenge. I can't solve it. Well, what have you done? Oh, I tried everything. Well, what did you do? Well, everything. And then cross your arms, huff, and get upset. Same thing in the work. If you're working on an alert or something and you ask for help, you got to be able to say, look, I'm trying to get the DNS server back up and running. I tried this. I looked at this log. I'm checked for this service, and I did this, and I did that. I still can't get it to work. That is way better for communication and teamwork than just get it working for me. Ugh. And you see that. You see that in the early stages of a CTF where people get frustrated and need to learn how to work with one another. It is for sure a mental sport. A lot of us, how many of you played sports in high school or college? Oh, that's actually pretty good. So how many people were in band? All right, there's my people. See, maybe that was my problem. I didn't participate in enough sports in high school because I was in band, and it takes a lot of mental energy to do this, and it can become draining. But by the next day, and you reflect after your CTF, what did you learn? What did you not learn? It also allows for a time of reflection. And then, of course, fun. Every CTF that I've been a part of, there's been laughter, there have been arguments, but at the end of the day, everybody comes together and says, that was a lot of fun. So once again, here's my first CTF. We actually did win. Now, some people in the room would probably be upset that the gentleman in the middle and the person on the left, which is me, would win, because I hear this all the time. Oh, they're like 50 years old. That's not fair. You can start in cybersecurity at any age. There is no restriction. I don't know how old I was. I was probably in my 30s. I was an adult. I was an adult learner going back to school. Never heard of a CTF until I was told about it through my coworker. And I'm like, what the heck is a CTF? He's like, well, let's work on some challenges. And I had tons of experience in IT, but I had 0 years of formal cybersecurity training. But our team was called Groot. So when you guys see Groot in my office, it's because of that. But we did end up winning that particular CTF, and it left a lot of lasting memories, and it is also why I'm so passionate about WordPress. All right, so what are your next steps? So commit to learning, whatever that means to you. Set up your own virtual machine and tear it down. Set up your own virtual machines, tear them down. Do that, I don't know, how many times? 50, 60, whatever. Keep doing it. It gives you a lot of practice. Sign up for a CTF. US Cyber Games, it does start on May 30th. Also, for any ladies in the room, Anybody here the 502 project? Couple of you? Okay. So the 502 project, I could talk about that at another time. But I am going to be the team captain for the Cyber Sages squad. And it will be for just women over 30 who are either moved away from the technical side or trying to do a transition into cyber. We really don't care about your age. We're just trying to make us feel more comfortable about ourselves. So, but what are the next steps? The next steps, I would say volunteer. Volunteer to be a judge for a CTF. They're always looking for volunteers. Be a mentor or a coach for Cyber Patriot. US Cyber Games is currently recruiting for team coaches, and we have a coach for all the different categories. So we have a coach for web, binary exploitation. We have like a coach for all of those. So if you're looking for to be a judge, volunteer for Cyber Patriot, start a Cyber Patriot chapter at your local high school. The high schools are very receptive to this. Start a CTF in your workplace. CTFD is a great platform for creating CTFs. And then also volunteer to create challenges. And then with that, this is a QR code to my LinkedIn. I'm always posting new cyber or CTFs and other related information. And we have time for a couple of questions if anybody has any.